Dumelang, I will be doing July examination revision for grade 8. Let's start with the first question. Question 1 will be 9 marks for 9 minutes. We need to define each of the following given examples. Okay, you define and give an example. The first one wants you to define and give examples of irrational numbers. Now, what are irrational numbers? Irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be expressed as a fraction. They include non-recurring decimals. That's why I gave you example as my examples there will be pi and square root of 3. So those will be numbers that cannot be expressed as a fraction, and they include non-recurring decimals. Then non-real numbers, whenever I ask this question, people normally say non-real numbers are numbers that are not real. No, these includes imaginary numbers. These are numbers that are not real and do not form part of the number sets. So we have the square root of -4, which is a complex number, and infinity. Okay, now we need to complete this table. N represents natural numbers. Q with that apostrophe represents irrational numbers. Q is just irrational numbers, and we have non-real numbers, which is the non-R. Now, this -3/4, is it a natural number? Is it an irrational number? Or is it a rational number? Rational numbers are numbers that can be expressed as a fraction. A fraction has a numerator and a denominator, and -3 is a numerator. Divided by the denominator will be 4, and that is a fraction. And the fact that it's a fraction, it will fall under rational numbers. What about 120? 120 is a rational number. It's also a natural number, and that is all. Okay. What about 0.252525252525? It's a recurring decimal, and a recurring decimal falls under rational numbers. What about the square root of -2? When you put this into a calculator, it'll give you error. Let me just show you. Let's put it into a calculator and see what will happen. You'll put in there the square root of -2. Okay, let me just use this here. Why is it doing that? Okay, do you see what you get? Math error. The fact that you get math error tells you that that is not a number. It's not a real number. That's why we're going to put it under non-real numbers. And the cube root of 30 will be how much? Let's check. Cube root of 30. The cube root of 30 will give us a non-recurring decimal, but let's just confirm that it does give us a non-recurring decimal, and that makes it an irrational number. Okay, it is an irrational number. Square root of -2, it's a complex number, an imaginary number, it's a non-real, and the cube root of 30 will be an irrational number. Okay, let's go to question 2. Question 2 wants us to write the factors of 96. Factors are two numbers that you multiply in order to get 96. Now it'll start with 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, 24, 32, 48, and 96. Now find the 5 multiples of 15. Now the multiples are simply that 15 multiplied by natural numbers. So 15 times 1 will give you 15. 15 times 2 will give you 30. 30 times 3 will give you 45. 15 times 4 will give you 60. 15 times 5, all of those are natural numbers. 15 times 1 is a natural number. 15 times 2 is a natural number. 15 times 3 is a natural number. 15 times 4 is a natural number. And we need to stop at 5, and multiples will be those that are given there. Now we need to express 8,100 is a product of prime factors. How do we do that? You will write 8,100 divided by the lowest prime number. The lowest prime number will be 2. 8,100 divided by 2 will give you 4,050. 4,050 divided by the lowest prime number, which is 2, it'll give you 2,025. 2,025, you will divide it by the lowest prime number. Now, can 2 go into 2025? No. Let's look at the next higher number than 2, which will be 3. Can 3 go into 2025? The answer is yes, and it'll give you 625. Can 3 go into 675? The answer is yes. When you take 675 divided by 3, it'll give you 225. Can 3 go into 225? The answer is yes. And when you divide 225 by 3, it'll give you 75. Can 3 go into 75? Again, the answer is yes. And when you divide 75 by 3, it'll give you 25. Can 3 go into 25? The answer is no. Now we are in search of another prime factors that can go into 25. So immediately after 3, the next prime factor will be 5. Now, when we divide 25 by 5, we'll get 5, and 5 divided by 5, we get 1. Write this as a product of factors, which will be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 5 times 5. Now, write this in exponential form. The 2's will be written as 2 to the exponent of 2. The 3's will be written as 3 to the exponent of 4. The 5's will be written as 5 to the exponent of 2. Remember, you just add the exponents, you write it as a single base. That's it. Done. Now, they want us to use in 2.3.1, they want us to use our answer in 2.2 to find the square root of 8,100. I will write the previous prime factors written in exponential form inside that square root, the ones that I got in 2.4. Now, when we have the square root, it tells us that we need to take the exponents and divide them by 2. The first exponent is 2. 2 divided by 2 will give you 1. So we'll be left with 2 to the exponent of 1. The second exponent is 4. So we have the base there is 3. The exponent is 4. You will take that 4 divided by 2. It'll give you 2. So we will be left with 3 to the exponent of 2. The last base is 5, it's raised to the exponent of 2. So you will take that 2 divided by 2. Remember, we just divide the exponents by 2. So 2 divided by 2 will give you 1, meaning that the base will still be 5, but the base will be raised to the exponent of 1. And this is what we are left with. Multiply all of those out, you will get 90. And that's all we needed, isn't it? And this is how this will be marked. All right. Here we need to determine the highest common factor and the lowest common factor of 630, 210, and 420 by finding the prime factors. Now we will need to find the prime factors using the ladder method. So let's start with the 630 divided by the lowest prime factor. What will be the lowest prime factor that goes into 630? It is 2. 630 divided by 2 will give you 315. Can 2 go into 315? What is the next prime number? What's the next prime number after 2? It is 3. Can 3 go into 315? Yes, it can. So 315 divided by 3 will give you 105. Can 3 still go into 105? Yes, it can. 105 divided by 3 will give us 35. Can 3 go into 35? The answer is no. Now, what is the next prime number after 3? It is 5. Can 5 go into 35? The answer is yes. 35 divided by 5 will give you 7. Obviously, you can tell that 5 cannot go into 7. We will need to find the second or the prime number after 5. What is the prime number after 5? It is 7. So 7 will become our new prime factor. 7 divided by 7 will give us 1. So when you write this, you will write it as 2 times 3 to the exponent of 2. That is because we multiply 3 by itself twice, times 5 times 7. And that's all we're going to have. Let's go to 210. Lowest prime number that goes into 210, it is 2. 210 divided by 2, how much do we get? Now 210 divided by 2 will give us 105. And once we get to 105, we cannot divide 105 by 2. Instead, we are going to use the next prime number after 2, which will be 3. 105 divided by 3 will give us 35, and 35 divided by 5 will give us 7, and then 7 divided by 7 will give us 1. To write 210 as a product of prime numbers or prime factors, it will be 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. You will do the same thing with 420. You'll find the lowest prime number and then write it as a product of prime factors, and this is what you will get. Your LCM. When you look for your LCM, you will look for a base, and if you have a common base, like here we have 2 as a common base. Why is 2 a common base? It's because it is a factor of 630. It is also a factor of 210, and now it's a factor of 420. Since it is a common factor or a common base, we are only going to take the base with the highest exponent, which is this one here. When it comes to 3, there's 3 there, there's 3 there, there's 3 there, so it's common. We're going to take the 3 with the highest exponent. What about the 5? 5, 5, 5. So the highest exponent is 1. 7 will be 7, 7, 7. The highest exponent will just be 7. And your LCM will be 1260. What about HCF? How do we determine HCF? For HCF is different from LCM. With HCF, you only look for a common base and you take the common base with the lowest exponent. Now is 2 a common base? It's there, it's there, it's there. So 2 will be part of your HCF, but you only take 2 with the lowest exponent. It'll therefore be 2 to the exponent of 1. What about 3? It's there, it is there, it is there. So 3 will be part of our HCF, but only 3 with the lowest exponent will be part of your HCF. Same with 5, same with 7. So our HCF will be 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. which is 210. All right, let's go to 2.5. We need to find the cube root of 9,261. We need to use the ladder method. So it'll put 9,261 on the left, divide by the lowest prime. Can 2 go into 9,261? The answer is no. Can 3 go into 9,261? The answer is yes. 9,261 divided by 3 will give you 3,087. Now, let's look at the lowest prime number that will go into 3,085. Can it be 2? No. Can it be 3? We don't know. Check. Yes, it is 3. So 3,087 divided by 3 will give you 1,029. Lowest prime, is it still 3? Yes. 1,029 divided by 3 will give you 343. Can I still divide by 3? The answer is no. Can I divide by the next prime number, which is 5? The answer is no. Can I divide by the next prime number, which is 7? The answer is yes. 343 divided by 7 will give you 49. Now, can I still divide by 7? The answer is yes. 49 divided by 7 will give you 7, and that is obvious. The lowest prime you can divide 7 by is 7 itself. And when you write this, you'll write it as 3 times 3 times 3, 7 times 7 times 7. Because 3 has been multiplied by itself 3 times, we are going to write it as 3 and raise it to the exponent of 3. 7 has also been multiplied by itself 3 times. We're going to write it as a base of 7 and raise it to the exponent of 3. When you find the cube root, the rules change. It means that we need to divide the exponents that we have inside the root by 3. So the first number, which is 3 cubed, we are going to divide the cube with 3. So 3 divided by 3 will give us 1. So with the first base, we will be left with 3 to the exponent of 1. With the second base, we are going to divide the exponent of 7 by 3. The exponent of 7 is 3. 3 divided by 3 will still give us 1. So the exponent of 7 will now be 1. Note that you can only distribute the root across a multiplication and division. You cannot distribute the root across subtraction or addition. Therefore, 3 times 7 will give us 21. This means that the cube root of 9,261 will be 21. All right. Write down the number sentences described and calculate the value of each expression. We need to increase negative 85 degrees by 65 degrees. To increase means you need to add. So negative 85 plus 65 will give us negative 20. Difference of negative 7 and 13. Difference means you need to subtract. So you're going to take negative 7, subtract 13. Negative 7 minus 13, the signs are the same. We're going to keep the sign, which is negative, and then add 7 with 13. 7 plus 13 will give us 20. So it'll be negative 20. Increase the investment amount of 26,250 by an interest amount of 1,250. To increase, it means we are going to add 26,250 with 1,250. That's what increase means. And that'll give us 27,500. Now the temperature of 15 degrees Celsius decreases by 25 degrees Celsius. So that will be 15 degrees Celsius minus 25 degrees Celsius, and that will give us negative 10 degrees Celsius. So 15 minus 25 will give you negative 10. Now, Ndlela here, Laway withdraws 16,500 from his investment account, which had a balance of 36,500. So in this investment account, we've got 36,500. And then he later deposited 2,350. So deposit means you're adding to the investment. You are going to add to the 36,500. So it'll be 36,500 plus 2,350. And then it's basically because it's in the same investment account. How much does Laway have in his account? So let's start here. Laway had a balance of 36,500. Then she deposited 2,350. But at the beginning of the sentence, they said he withdrew 16,500. So 36,500 plus 2,350 minus 16,500 will give us the balance in his account, which will be 22,350. Now let's check here. Between 0,9 degrees Celsius and negative 3,5 degrees Celsius, we need to put in the inequality, which is the greater or the less than inequality. Which one are we going to put in there? We are going to put the greater because 0,9 degrees Celsius is greater than negative 3,5 degrees Celsius. Which one is bigger between 0,00124 and 0,412? 0,412 is bigger. And which one is bigger between 3,424,900 and 3,424,900 and 3,624,900? The bigger one will be 3,624,900. What about the cube root of 323? What does that give you though? So the cube root of negative 323 will give us negative 7. Perfect. What about the square root of, well, this is the fifth root of 32 multiplied by negative 4, that will give us negative 8. So between negative 7 and negative 8, which one is greater? Negative 7 is greater than negative 8. So we are going to put the greater inequality. We need to, in question 4, it's 10 marks, 10 minutes. We need to simplify the following ratios. We need to show all the workings. I've got 70 is to 294. Firstly, I'm going to write 70 as a product of prime factors, and this is what I will get. And then write 294 as a product of prime factors, and that's what I will get. The highest common factor will be a common base with the lowest exponent. Between these two products that we're given here, which is 70 and 294, the common base is the 2 and the other common base is the 7. But with the 7 and the 2, we always take the one with the lowest exponent, which will be our HCF. That's our HCF will be 2 times 7. 2 times 7 will give us 14. Then you will divide each of those parts by 14. 70 divided by 14 and 294 divided by 14, that will give us 5 is to 21. Try the next one. Prime factors of 2100 will be these. Prime factors of 3300 will be these. And prime factors of 1200 will be these. In the first part, which is 2100, 2 is there, 3 and 5. In the second one, it's 2, 3, and 5. We don't count 11 because it wasn't in the first one. In the third one, it is still 2, 3, and 5. But when you choose your highest common factor, you only take a base with the lowest exponent. With a base of 2, the lowest exponent will be 2. So our highest common factor will be made up of 2 squared, 3, as well as 5 squared. Times those up, they will give you your highest common factor, which will be 300. Divide each part by 300. We've got 3 parts. So that 2100, you'll divide it by 300. 3300, divide by 300. 1200, divide by 300. And this is what we will get. And it will be simplified in this form. Now, the length of Mrs. Chirawi's class is 22,000 centimeters and the width is 260 meters. You need to determine the ratio of the length to width in simplest form where 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeters. What I'm going to do is to simplify 220 meters, which is the same as 22 centimeters. All I did was that I took 22 centimeters and I divided them by 100, which will give me 220 meters. All I'm going to do is to express this ratio, which is the length is to width. It's supposed to be the width is to the length. So the ratio here will be 220 meters is to 260. You could have worked with centimeters, is still fine. By changing 260 meters to centimeters, it will still be fine. Please note that here we now are measuring in the same unit, which is meters. Okay, that must be units. Okay, so the units will be in meters. Then divide by the highest common factor. To divide by the highest common factor, you will have to check what I did in the previous method by finding HCF. And you will notice that for these 2 parts, your HCF will be 20. Then you will divide each part by 20. The first part will give you 11, and the second part will give you 13. Now, question 5, 14 marks, 14 minutes. Suppose that the top player at Manchester City scored on average 2.5 times the number of goals that the top player at Arsenal scored. If the top player at Arsenal scored 14 goals, how many goals did the player at Manchester City score? What we know is that the top player at Man City, when you compare it to the top player at Arsenal, will be 2.5 is to 1. Because the top player at Man City scored on average 2.5 times the number of goals than the top player at Arsenal. Now we are told that the Arsenal player, remember the 1 represents the Arsenal, which is the second part, the 2.5 represents Man City. Now they're telling us if an Arsenal player scored 14 goals, how many goals did the Manchester City player score? So we're going to have n is to 14. Now for us to move from 1 to 14, we have to multiply by 14. And for us to move, obviously, we're going to apply the same thing on the first part. We are going to multiply that by 14, meaning that n will be 35. 2.5 multiplied by 14 will give you 35. Now, a diesel vehicle uses 36 liters for every 600 kilometers. So this will be 36 liters is to 600 kilometers when you compare the ratio. Now they're asking you how many kilometers can this vehicle travel with 24 liters. They're giving you liters and they want kilometers. So the kilometers will be n. You will note that with 36 liters, it was 600 kilometers. And now we are moving down to 24 liters. How did we move down to 24 liters? We divided. What did we divide 36 liters by to get 24? Take 36 and divide it by 24. It'll give you a common ratio. And then you will multiply both sides by that common ratio. Now, all I did here was that I need n. And for me to use n, I'll have to use the first parts. And you will notice that with the first part, for me to move from 36 to 24, I divided 36 by 1.5. Now, let's see if that is true. 36 divided by 1.5, what do we get? We get 24. That is great. It means that we can divide both sides by 1.5. So you will take that 600 and divide it by 1.5. It should give you the value of n and will be 400 kilometers. Let's move to 5.5. When we mix equal parts of permanent rose and ultramarine blue paint to make pure purple. Okay, so we mix equal parts to get pure purple. Now add more ultramarine blue in small increments to create a darker, richer, deeper purple. So if you want a darker, richer, deeper purple, we will need to add ultramarine in small increments. And if we add more permanent rose, we will get a warmer shade of purple. Now, Ntabeling has 5 liters of permanent rose. A wants us to write the ratio of permanent rose to pure purple. Please note that if pure purple is made up of 50% of permanent rose plus 50% of ultramarine, and we are told that permanent rose was 5 liters, right? So it means ultramarine was also 5 liters. So when you add 5 liters together, you will get 10. So that means pure purple will be 10. So if you want to write the ratio of permanent rose to pure purple, it'll be 5 is to 10. If the mixture of paint contains 15 liters of ultramarine blue, how many liters of pure purple paint are there in this mix? So this is what we have. We know that for 5 liters of ultramarine, we are going to have 10 liters of pure purple. Now, if we have 15 liters of ultramarine paint, how many liters of pure purple are we going to have? You will notice that we multiplied 5 by 3 to get 15 liters. So I'm going to apply that in the second part of the ratio. I'm going to take 10 liters and multiply them by 3. It should give me the value of n, and n will give me 30 liters of pure purple. How did you know that ultramarine was 5 liters? Well, it's because they said ultramarine and permanent rose are in equal parts. So if permanent rose is 5 liters. Ultramarine will also be 5 liters. When you combine the two, they will give you 10 liters of pure purple. Now, Ntabeleng decided to add permanent rose with ultramarine blue paint in the ratio of 18:8. Please note that permanent rose here is greater than pure, well, ultramarine blue. And if we add more permanent rose, we are going to get a warmer shade. So what type of purple will Ntabeleng get? It will be a warmer shade of purple. Now, let's get to this here. Matito and Shamika bought books at book fair costing 12,000. Matito contributes 6,900 and Shamika contributes the balance. So these books cost 12,000, meaning that if Matito contributes 6,900, Shamika will contribute 12,000 minus 6,900. Okay, that's what Shamika will contribute, meaning that Shamika will contribute 5,100. Now they say how many books should each receive based on this ratio split if there are 280 books altogether. Firstly, we'll find the ratio of Shamika's contribution or Matito's contribution to Shamika's contribution. So Matito contributed 6,900 and Shamika contributed 5,100. Find HCF between these two numbers. You will get HCF of 300. Take 6,900 divided by 300, it'll give you 23, and then take 5,100 divided by 300, it'll give you 17. So this is the ratio of Matito's contribution to Shamika's contribution. In total, their contribution will be written as a total ratio of 40. So if I want Matito's contribution, I'll take the number of books altogether, multiplied it by Matito's contribution divided by the total contribution. So for Matito, you will take the total number of books multiplied by Matito's contribution, which is 23, divided by the total contribution of 40. That will give you how many books Matito will receive, which is 161 books. To determine how much Shamika will receive, you can just take the total number of books, which is 280, and then you minus 161, and that will give you what Shamika has contributed, well, the number of books that Shamika will receive. Now, in total, it is 280. So for Shamika's contribution, it was 17. You divide it by the total contribution of 40. That means Shamika will receive 119 books. Okay, now here it wants us to divide 25,000 in the ratio of 2:5:3. First of all, you will add the ratios all together to get the total, and the total ratio will be 10. So for the first part, you'll multiply by 2/10. For the second part, you'll multiply by 5/10. For the third part, you'll multiply by 3/10. So the contribution, when we divide this, it will be 5,000 is to 12,500 is to 7,500. Okay, this was your problem solving. Here you needed to just use your compound interest formula where you are told Mr. Ngidi invested X 5 years ago. So X was P, N will be 5, I will be 10%. Interest is calculated on original amount invested plus interest earned in the previous year, which where they tell you that it's compounded. If the amount invested accumulates to 161,051. That 161,051 becomes your A, and that is what you will get after 5 years. What was Mr. Ngidi's initial investment? They want X. So when you write this, where there is A, you will substitute 161 and 51. Where there is X or P, you will substitute X. Where there is I, you will substitute 10. Where there is N, you will substitute 5. Now to solve for X here, you will divide both sides by this whole bracket here, including the exponent. So when you take 161,051 divided by that whole bracket, you will get 100,000. All right. And these were the solutions to the revision pack you got earlier on this year. All right, I hope you enjoyed it, and please be on the lookout for more videos, for more math videos. Kgotso.